Welcome in everybody to another episode of Mock Draft Mondays here with the High Low Sports Podcast. It is DJ here joining us, and today we are roughly 1 month away from the start of the NFL draft, so we're going to do ourselves a 2-round mock draft with trades underway. Free agency, first couple of weeks come and gone, a few different trades have gone down. We have a little bit of an idea where some teams might be leaning, what holes they have. We have a pretty good idea with a couple of the picks who we think they're going to go with, so we're going to go ahead and get right into the mock draft, right out of the gate. Caleb Williams, everything is but a shirt. He's a Chicago Bear right now. Not a lot to talk about here. That one's all but set in stone. Following up at number 2, Washington. A little bit of debate. Is it Drake May? Is it Jane Daniels? It sounds like they're leaning towards Jane Daniels from some of the reports, so we're going to stick there. Not a whole lot has changed since we started doing these, so the first 2 picks off the board, pretty much the same they've been. Here at pick number 3, New England needs a quarterback, but they also need a lot of things. New head coach, new GM in New England, new regime, Gerard Mayo at the helm. I think if Jane Daniels is there, they stick and pick. But I think I don't know if they're quite as big on Drake May. So I want to say they are willing to negotiate and wheel and deal this pick. So I think New England is going to make a trade with Minnesota for 11 and 23. Minnesota making that pick to get a couple extra first rounders. We'll throw in a 1 next year and then just like whatever they want to do to make it work. However, the point is New England's going to get a haul, and Minnesota is going to skyrocket themselves up to pick number 3 to get Drake May from North Carolina. Huge upside, a lot of potential, very gifted. Kevin O'Connell, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson when healthy. A perfect fit for both parties, and that makes the NFC North with May, Williams, Jordan Love, Jared Goff as well. That is one heck of a division. So we got Drake, Minnesota here at pick number 3. Number 4, Marvin Harrison Jr. It sounds like this one's, barring any sort of change or someone jumping them, I feel like this one's all but a lock too. Sounds like Marvin, rumors are he wants to play for Arizona. Kyler Murray's going to love that, so we're going to say Marvin Harrison too. But to Arizona, pick number 4. Pick number 5, Los Angeles Chargers. I think they are going to listen to a lot of trade offers here. I think a lot of teams are going to be looking to come up. But I do think the Chargers will stick and pick in this particular scenario. And I'm going to go ahead and give them Joe Alt. I think we're going to see Jim Harbaugh. He's going to want to run the heck out of the ball. I do think receiver is deep enough to where he will be willing to pass on the Neighbors and Odunze's and might even be willing to bring in some free agents who maybe get past this first wave. But I think he's going to try and build an absolute wall in front of Herbert, similar to what he tried to do in San Francisco with Colin Kaepernick, what he did at Michigan with JJ, and what he tried to do at Stanford with Andrew as well. So I'm going to go ahead and take Joe Alt, could play left tackle or right tackle, whatever they need opposite Rashawn Slater. Just build an absolute wall in front of Herbert and then scheme up some of his receivers open is going to be his plan off of the run game. Pick number 6, the New York Giants. I do think J.J. McCarthy is in play here, but I'm looking at Brian Daboll. I'm not saying he needs to save his job, but like after last season, I think this year he's got to make a little bit of noise. I don't know if a rookie quarterback will do that. They do have a lot invested in Daniel Jones. They did bring in Drew Lock, another young quarterback, so maybe that I think here with the way the board falls, I'm going to give them Malik Neighbors, who a lot of people as the number 1 receiver in the class, depending on who you talk to. I think they're going to add him to they're going to get weapons around either Drew Lock or Daniel Jones. They lost Saquon Barkley. They're going to need to fill the running back role. They traded and signed an absolute ridiculous amount of money to Brian Burns. So I think getting a first-round quarterback here is probably not the move considering they have so much invested elsewhere. They need to try and win and make some noise now, especially with the Cowboys losing some players, the Eagles are making some moves, even taking Saquon. Washington's in a reload mode. I think the Giants need to make a little bit of noise, so we're going to give them Malik Neighbors. Pick number 7, Tennessee Titans. Bringing in L'Jarius Sneed to help fortify the defense, brought in Calvin Ridley. You have him and DeAndre Hopkins. I think Malik Neighbors is the pick they were really hoping for. But with the way that falls, I think they do have a variety of options. I'm going to go ahead and give them offensive line. We're to go down to Olu Fashanu. I think they have Peter Skoronski from last year. I think Brian Callen's looking at, they probably want to go skill position there. But with the way that the board falls, I do think they're going to go and just take an offensive lineman here. Another situation where they might hear some trade-up opportunities, but I don't think they will take them because some of those teams like New England and Denver and the AFC, and I think they'll hold strong. Like, you know what? We're not going to necessarily help them. And then here at pick number 8, Atlanta, same position. I think the reason that I'm going to have them stick and pick, though, is because Rome Odunze is there. They're going to look at Rome Odunze, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. They're going to give Kirk Cousins every weapon in the book, and all of the targets are like 6'3" to 6'5", 6'6". They're going to be jump balls galore. The red zone is going to be absolutely menacing. So I'm going to go Rome Odunze to Atlanta. I think I think they would look to trade back if Odunze wasn't there. I know they need edge and Dallas Turner, Jared Verse. They do have options. I think they would be willing to trade back in any other scenario. But with Odunze still there, they're going to make that move. Chicago, on the other hand, they were probably looking to snag one of those receivers to pair with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore in squad. Or maybe if Joe Alt slips. I know that they have Cole Kmet, but Brock Bowers is there. But I do think they are open to trade back. They only have 3 more picks, 4 in total. So I'm going to say New England decides to climb back ahead to make sure Denver does not jump them. We'll go ahead and throw in. We'll give them a 3. We'll say they even trade a little bit heavy as well. Then mix and match however you need to make it work. This is just point is New England's going to come up those couple of picks to make sure Denver doesn't go up there, and they're going to take JJ McCarthy, who this is closer to where I think is a more comfortable spot. I don't think teams are going to be wanting to jump into the top 5 necessarily for him. I do think in this area is where we can see someone trade up for him. I think Tennessee's willing to trade back, but I'm going to go ahead and say that they don't trade back with a fellow AFC team. Maybe if someone from the NFC tried to trade up, like if Minnesota doesn't trade, I think this would be a prime spot for them. And then Atlanta, I think if the Dunze or neighbors is it, I think they're going to have a hard time saying no to that. Just to absolutely invested so much in Kirk Cousins. I think they're going to give him every weapon and opportunity in the book. So then from here, New England's going to come up and get JJ McCarthy. Next, we got pick number 10. We got the New York Jets. And I think offensive line is the move here. I know Brock Bowers is just sitting right there, and it's really, really tempting. I want to do it, but I think that they're going to make the smart move here, and they're going to go to Talise Fuaga, a mauling offensive lineman. They did trade for Morgan Moses and bring in Tyron Smith for a couple of years, but you know the injury history of Tyron Smith especially, and I think they're going to keep Talise Fuaga and build some youth for that offensive line moving forward. They did get Mike Williams. Aaron Rodgers isn't known to throwing the ball, especially over the middle to the tight end. I know Tunyon had the one big year, but we're going to go Talise Fuaga. They're going to continue to just fortify that offensive line to elongate the Aaron Rodgers run as much as they can. And on top of that, Breece Hall is going to love having Talise Fuaga, Molly, and getting to the second level. The Bears here, pick number 11. I think they are in business here where they would be willing to trade back again, but I don't think they will. I think they're going to sit here and we're going to see the first defensive player off the board in Dallas Turner. I think they're going to have a hard time. And they're going to have a hard time turning Dallas Turner down. They'll probably take him at 9, but being able to trade back and get an extra pick, I think they're going to pull the trigger here. And now at pick number 12, Denver, I think not being able to go up and get JJ McCarthy, I think at 12, they're going to be willing to trade out. Not out of the first round completely, but they will be willing to go backwards just a little bit. And one team that I think might be willing to come up is the Philadelphia Eagles. With 2 second-round picks, I think they'll be willing to toss in one of those to climb 10 spots. They still need some secondary help, so I'm going to say they climb the board to get the top-ranked corner, Terrion Arnold, out of Alabama. Pair of him, Isaiah Rodgers, recently signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Darius Slay. I think James Bradbury's not on the way out necessarily, but I think they're going to be looking to replace him. I think Terrion Arnold's the pick here. They fly up the board to get the star corner out of Alabama. Las Vegas here at pick number 13. This is very, very interesting. I think they have a decent amount of holes. I think they could take a lot of players. Quinyon Mitchell will be a great pick here. Jared Verse will be a great pick here. However, I think we are also going to see a potential trade back opportunity. I'm going to say the Raiders are going to be willing to trade back. So let's go find Las Vegas here. This is where we're going to have a little bit of fun because some teams are just very, very reckless sometimes. But I think this is where we see someone having a little bit of fun. We're going to go up here. We're going to find the Miami Dolphins are going to climb up. Say they throw in like a 3rd-round pick next year and then maybe a 5th this year. Something like that. They find a way to make it work. You know what? Let's rework that actually. Let's say they throw in a 1 and a 2 and then they take the Raiders 4. So something like that. There's something along those lines. That looks a bit even. The Raiders here, they get a few more picks. Antonio Pierce wants to fill out that team a little bit. Miami is going to fill out the board, and I think Mike McDaniel's going to take Brock Bowers here. They got to pay Tua. They know that's coming up. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, a pretty decent offensive line could still use some work. The defense, you lose Xavier Howard, you lose Christian Wilkins. They're losing. They do got to reload that defense, but I can't help but think they might get a little bit greedy here and trade up to get Brock Bowers. So we're gonna have a little bit of fun with this week's. We still got a month's worth of these, so this one might be a little more ridiculous. But Brock Bowers, I don't think should slip this far. So we're gonna say Miami climbs up the board to go get him. Next, we will see Jared Verse here at pick number 14. Go to the New Orleans Saints. I know they brought in Chase Young. Cameron Jordan is getting older, and then Chase Young with that neck injury has been very injury prone. I think that one they signed on if he hits, great. If not, oh well. Jared Verse, I think they're going to load up that pass rush. So bring in Jared Verse. Pick number 15, the Colts kind of painted themselves into a corner here, not getting L'Jarius Sneed, making no moves in the secondary whatsoever. They have to go corner here, and Quinyon Mitchell is the pick, I believe, here. If they could trade back, I'm sure they would, but I'm sure they won't be able to find a suitor that they like. So we're going to go Quinyon Mitchell to the Colts, a desperate need at corner and receiver. They have to make the move at corner. 16, we got the Seattle Seahawks. Byron Murphy is very much in play here, but I do think they need a little more help on the edge, especially. So I think they're going to keep Latu on the West Coast, and we're going to see they're going to take a little bit of a calculated risk. I know the injury concerns, plus he's older, but I think what Latu offers you as a pass rusher, they're willing to take that gamble here at 16. And with the young players they have in the secondary, bolstering their pass rush makes it worth it. So we'll go Latu here at pick number 16. Jacksonville at 17. If the board falls this way, I can't see them not taking Brian Thomas Jr. He could really go in the top 12, 13 really easily. I think just the way it fell, he came down to them pick 17. They got to replace Calvin Ridley. Trevor Lawrence, it's not a make or break here necessarily, but they really want to see a little more pop, I guess, from that offense with him, Doug Peterson, all them. They need to see, and losing Calvin Ridley. We'll go Brian Thomas Jr. here for the LSU receiver to Jacksonville. Pick number 18, Cincinnati. Frankly, I really want them to take an offensive lineman. I don't know if they will, but I'm going to have them take one here. J.C. Latham makes a lot of sense. They do have the tackles in Trent and Orlando Brown. So I'm going to give them Troy Fatanu, someone who's a bit of a guard tackle, can play a little bit of both, can swing back and forth. So we're going to go Troy Fatanu, someone they can put inside. Then if there's an injury, maybe push him out to guard. Pick number 19, Los Angeles Rams. Initially, I had this being a team that could trade up for Brock Bowers, or a team maybe a Cooper DeJean, a versatile corner. With the retirement of Aaron Donald, though, Byron Murphy, who I am not saying is Aaron Donald by any means, a similar type of skill set as a interior pass rusher who could also stop the run and can wreak havoc. Very athletic. Byron Murphy to the Rams. Good value pick, good needs pick, just makes sense. Pick number 20, Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they would really like if the board fell this way. I think they have their choice of a lot of players at a different position of need, as you can see. I'm going to go ahead and give them Nate Wiggins. I think opposite Joey Porter Jr., they have the highest paid defense in the NFL. And I think they're going to continue to invest in that. I think they're almost going to make the same mistake of saying, you know what, let's let Russ cook on offense and we'll continue to have a ridiculous defense. And Nate Wiggins is a very good player. I would go with J.C. Latham, and I think that'd be the smart pick. But knowing the Steelers, they do have a knack for going defense here. So we'll go and give them Nate Wiggins for the Steelers at 20. That being said, at pick number 21, the Raiders, after trading back, getting an extra pick, I think they will continue to build on the offensive line. I think right tackle J.C. Latham, opposite Colton Miller. Antonio Pierce wants to run the ball and play defense. You got an extra pick now. You could bolster that defense in other positions in the second round. We'll go J.C. Latham. Whether it's Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, whoever they're playing quarterback, they want to have those bookend tackles. Denver, after trading back, gets the guy I think they would take at number 12. I think Bo Nix and Michael Penix, because of their age, are not as likely to go in that top 15. I think Denver takes that risk here as well. Trading back to go get and hoping to get Bo Nix and getting some more picks. So go Bo Nix to Denver at 22. I think Michael Penix is very much in play. Bo Nix just feels like a Sean Payton quarterback, which I know everybody and their mom has been saying, including on these shows. We've been saying that since day one, but I'm going to go ahead and stick with that one. He's going to stay there and take him. Next at 23, we've got New England. They really need offensive help. The defense is pretty good when healthy. So there's a lot of good players here. I'm going to say they take a little bit of you know what? I'm going to give them a Marius Mims. I think they do need the tackle. I thought Jackson Powers Johnson here, but I think the tackle is very important. And I think they invest in JJ. They're going to bring in a Marius Mims, an absolute mammoth of an offensive tackle. That being said, at pick number 24, Jackson Powers Johnson, Dallas will hand this card to CeeDee Lamb, and he will sprint it to Roger Goodell if Jackson Powers Johnson is hanging out here. He is arguably a top 20-ish player in the draft, arguably the best interior offensive lineman. And I think they're going to go ahead and make this move. Remember when they drafted Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, despite all the glitz and glamour that comes with Dallas, they do truly believe in building that offensive line, especially through the draft. And I think we see that with Jackson Powers Johnson. Pick number 25, we got the Green Bay Packers. And I've been doing Cooper DeJean here because that just feels like a Green Bay pick. But I think with the way the board has fallen here, and I think Kool-Aid McKinstry had a very, very good pro day, I think they're going to make the move with someone who compares a little more favorably to Yair Alexander and that type of corner. So we're going to go Kool-Aid McKinstry to Green Bay. Not saying he is Yair Alexander, but play style, skill set, attributes, I think he's a little bit closer than Cooper DeJean is. Pick number 26, we have Tampa Bay, and we're going to have ourselves another shakeup here. It's been a while since we had a shakeup trade, and you know what? Now feels like the time. So Tampa Bay, we're going to see a team who's been very, very quiet in free agency, minus signing their own players. We're going to see Indianapolis climb back up into the first round. We'll see them do something along the lines here, then maybe throw in a fourth next year. They're gonna go ahead and mortgage a little bit. Chris Ballard's finally gonna be a little bit of aggressive and trade up. I think he's gonna find his way back into the back end of the first round. And they need receiver help. Receiver and corner are their biggest main needs. They've spent a lot of time at the Texas Pro Days. I think everyone's looking at Xavier Worthy, that 4.21 speed with Anthony Richardson. Very, very hard to turn out. But I think they're going to trade up to get A.D. Mitchell, who also runs a 4.3 in his own right. Tall, bigger build, athletic, can play a little bit of that X or Z, kind of opposite of what they do with Pittman. And he could also fill in that Pittman role as well. So we're going to go A.D. Mitchell to the Colts, trading back up into the first round to go get a receiver and fill their two biggest needs at receiver and corner. After being really quiet in free agency, I think they find a way to adjust both of those and then really fill out that team in the very improving AFC South. Now we have the Cardinals at pick number 27, and Jonathan Gannon is going to lose it. I think this is going to be defense these next couple of picks. And I think Johnny Newton, get a little pass rush, get after the quarterback, help that secondary out a little bit. I think offensive line is very much in play as well, help Kyler Murray. But I'm going to go and give him Johnny Newton, get after the passer here, give him that a little bit of a defensive presence in the front seven. Buffalo, they need help on defense, and Cooper DeJean slipping all the way to him. I think I want to give them some other players, but I think Cooper DeJean is such a good, versatile secondary piece that they could use to losing Jordan Poyer, losing Trey White, losing the players they did, having the salary cap difficulties. It just makes all the sense in the world. They did bring in Mike Edwards to play safety. Maybe Cooper DeJean could be a safety corner nickel hybrid for him. Just gives them a lot of versatility. So we'll Cooper DeJean to the Bills. Pick number 29, we have the Detroit Lions, and we're going to have ourselves another trade here. This one I've done a few times before, and we're going to stick with it. I think New York Giants, I mentioned earlier, I think they're going to ride with Daniel Jones, but I think in this particular case too, they're going to realize we probably have to worry about the quarterback moving forward. So we're going to say they move up, throw in a 4, next year's 3, something like that. The point is they're going to climb the board. They're going to go up to go get Michael Penix Jr. at pick number 29. Get that 5th-year option just in case. I know he's older, probably is going to slip to the second round, but I feel like this is the year 6 quarterbacks can go in round 1. We saw in 2021, 5 went. I think here we could see 6 go. I think the Lions, they're a really good team. They're going to fill out, and a few extra picks will probably benefit them in the second round where they do some of their best damage in recent years. So we'll go Michael Penix to the Giants, who I mentioned earlier, they need to win now. So I think that's some league neighbors to pick. But with Michael Penix falling, I think they do this to make sure that no one else trades up here with like 31 or 32 of their own to go get him, or with Carolina, New England, Arizona at the top of the second round. They go and get who could be their guy if Daniel Jones or Drew Lock doesn't work out. So we'll go Michael Penix there, and it might buy Brian Daboll a little bit of time in case they miss the playoffs this year, etc. Now we have Baltimore pick number 30. They're going to get greedy. They're going to have fun. They're going to play Madden. They're going to find Xavier Worthy sitting right there with Lamar Jackson, who can really let it fly. Pair him with Zay Flowers or Rashad Bateman. Just give him another dynamic weapon, end arounds, different things they could do. Ladd McConkey makes a lot of sense, especially being repaired with Todd Monken. But I think Xavier Worthy and that ridiculous speed, this can be too tempting not to bring in. End arounds, I can see them doing some triple options with Xavier Worthy, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson. They're going to have a lot of fun with that. So bring in Xavier Worthy to Baltimore. San Francisco, I think this is the year they finally are like, all right, we have Trent Williams, but the other 4 on the offensive line could use some work. Tyler Guyton, Oklahoma offensive tackle, bring him in, put him on the opposite side, move him around as they need to. I think it's a great fit. And now we have Kansas City, who they brought in Hollywood Brown now to go along with Rashee Rice. I think that opens it up. So if they want to go receiver, Ladd McConkey makes all the sense in the world. I've done it the last few times. But I do also kind of wonder if maybe that bringing in Hollywood Brown makes them maybe start looking at some other positions. I mean, Jordan Morgan, reassure the offensive line, Graham Barton, that because Joe Tooney is going to be coming up as well. That being said, I'm not willing to do that quite yet. We're going to go ahead and stick with the receiver spot, and we're going to go ahead. We're actually going to, we're going to give him Ladd McConkey. We're not going to overthink it. It makes too much sense. I think Carolina, by happenstance with that, is going to be a little devastated. I think that was their guy was Ladd McConkey. That being said, I really do like Troy Franklin here. I think his ability to just get down the field to separate. They already brought in Deontay Johnson, who can run the routes, the underneath routes. I think Troy Franklin's going to be one who has good route running, but he's going to be known for his explosiveness. So we're going to go Troy Franklin here at pick 33. 34, They're going to continue offensively. It's probably unlikely that Gerard Mayo uses so much offense early, but defensively they were already pretty good. So I think they're going to just do what they can to get offense. Devontae Parker is there, but Kendrick Bourne, I think they will reassure the receiving room. I like Keon Coleman here. Just a big body for JJ McCarthy to throw the back shoulder fades, the jump balls to. I wish he separated a little bit better, but it's still a great pick here. Next, we got Arizona, and I know they got Johnny Newton. I think because looking at the corners, Ennis Rackstraw makes a lot of sense. Kamari Lassiter, but I do think they're going to continue to try and build around Kyler Murray as well. And I think this is where we'll see Graham Barton to bolster up the interior of that offensive line after getting Paris Johnson last year. They'll go and get Graham Barton this year. Washington, they got to be able to get after the passer. Chop Robinson sitting there, that's a very high potential pick who very easily could go in the first round. I think I honestly would have given him to Detroit if I didn't have Detroit trading back. So that's what we're going to do is we're going to have Chop Robinson go to Washington here. Los Angeles Chargers taking Joe Alton round 1. And I think in round 2, why wouldn't they go receiver? And why wouldn't they go with Jim Harbaugh's boy, Roman Wilson? Michigan to Michigan men stick together. They need to bolster that receiving core, and this just makes a bunch of sense. So we're going to go Roman Wilson here. Next, we have Tennessee. I think they need the help getting after the passer. Darius Robinson makes a ton of sense here. Now we have Carolina. They did spend a lot of money on the offensive line, so I do think that, especially on the guard, so I think that does rule out Zach Frazier here. But I do really like Jordan Morgan. I like Ennis Rackstraw here. They still have so many holes, but you invested so much in Bryce Young. I think you got to do your best to keep him up, Bryce. So let's go with Jordan Morgan here. Just get another. Actually, you know what? No, we're going to have a lot of fun with this one. We're going to go Xavier Legette from South Carolina and North Carolina. They're going to double dip in the second round to receiver. Troy Franklin, Deontay Johnson, Xavier Legette. Very different play styles, too. Deontay Johnson's a true route runner. Xavier Legette's that big monster of a receiver that could play DK Metcalf, AJ Brown style. Troy Franklin is your absolute burner flying up and down the sideline. So go Xavier Legette. Carolina's going all in. Give Bryce Young just a chance to look like what you drafted him to be, because they did not do many favors last year. Washington Commanders, you need to do the same for Jaden Daniels because your offensive line was terrible for Sam Howell. Jordan Morgan, easy, run that one. Best offensive tackle left on the board. Green Bay, this is where I like Tyler Nubin. I think they will continue to bolster the secondary. Got Kool-Aid in the first round. Let's bring in Tyler Nubin for the set to take Darnell Savage's role. Just Matt LaFleur they have a very young receiving core that they like a lot, I believe, with Matt LaFleur on offense. So and bringing in Josh Jacobs at running back, they'll build it through defensively. Houston Texans, I like Tavondre Sweat here a lot for him, but I do think Brandon Fisk brings them a little bit of versatility. You do have the two major edge rushers, so I think they're going to go with Brandon Fisk, just someone who could bring pressure up the middle. They're going to try and get after it with just 4 down linemen, and I think Brandon Fisk gives you a lot of versatility to do that. Now we have Atlanta. You took Rome Odunze early and in the second round. You know what? I like Ennis Rackstraw. I like Kamari Lassiter. I want to go with Tavondre Sweat here. I think they're going to go with just somebody to play with Grady Jarrett on the interior. They're just going to take up space. I don't think they're not going to let teams run on there, but Tavondre Sweat in there, stop the QB sneaks just to stop the run so they could get teams in those passing situations with AJ Terrell, Jesse Bates, and that highly invested secondary they have. Las Vegas, they do need some corner help. I like Ennis Rackstraw here. The Raiders already have a ridiculous front seven with Christian Wilkins, Max Crosby getting after it. I think Rackstraw gives them an extra corner in the back end. Maybe force a few takeaways, go with Jack Jones and squad in Trayvon Merrick. New Orleans here at pick number at 45. You invested a lot in Derek Carr. You want to keep him upright. Kingsley Suamataia, that just makes too much sense at this point. You don't know what's going on with Ryan Ramczyk and his knee. How long is that going to affect him? Is that going to hinder him long term? And at the same time, Trevor Penning's been very hit or miss. So the more you can invest in the offensive line, the better for them. Tampa Bay with their first pick of the draft, bringing back Baker Mayfield, bringing back Mike Evans. I think they're going to run it back a lot. I do want to see them fortify the offensive line. They do need edge help. So Braylon Trice, Chris Braswell, they make a lot of sense here. Same with Frazier. It's a tough spot. It's tough to pick with them. They did also lose Carlton Davis, so corner is very much in play. I'm going to go with Braylon Trice for now. I think they want to get after the passer. I think Tampa Bay's in a good spot. They're missing a few areas. So I'm going to go with Braylon Trice there. Detroit Lions, first pick of the draft. They still could use secondary help. They did make some moves in the offseason for corners, but I don't think it stops there. I like Kamari Lassiter. They got cooked in the back end down the stretch, and I think they are going to address that here. So we'll go Kamari Lassiter. Now we got The Jacksonville Jaguars, pick number 48. They do need some edge help. They do have quite a few things they could use. I'm going to actually go ahead and give them Zach Frazier, the interior offensive lineman, just to help out Trevor Lawrence. They never really replaced Juwan Taylor all that well last year, and I think they're going to do what they can to try and build the. Like I said, this has to be like an all-in for Trevor Lawrence here, especially now that CJ Stroud's in division, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. They were supposed to run away with it last year and had a huge lead and choked it away. So I think they're going to go and take Zach Frazier and go all in on Trevor Lawrence taking that next step. Cincinnati here at pick number 49. You went offensive line in the first round. I really like this Jatavian Sanders pick. I'm not going to lie. I think that would be a whole lot of fun. But I think they're going to go defensive line. And I do like Chris Jenkins here, someone they can plug in the middle, help stop the run in that division. I think they got to replace DJ Reader. Chris Jenkins, in name value alone, is going to help you stop the run, let alone how ridiculously strong he is, how he holds the point of attack. So Chris Jenkins to the Bengals. And for the Eagles now, this one's been basically edged in as Edgerrin Cooper for me because they need linebacker help bad. Nakobe Dean coming back off injury. They signed Devin White. So I don't think Edgerrin Cooper is as big of a need. So I'm going to actually step out of the box a little bit. We're going to go to receiver. And I'm going to go with Tez Walker. I think they're going to bring him in. A little bit of a reachy one could say, but absolute speedster, gets down the field, 4.3 speed, replacing Quez Watkins. Next to, you got A.J. Brown, the big menacing receiver. You got Devontae Smith, the smooth route running Z type receiver who could play out slot. Tez Walker, fly up and down the sideline. If he's even, he's leaving. Throw screens to him. I think he's going to give them an extra little bit of a juice in the offense. Next, we got the Steelers. Nate Wiggins in the first round. I think it's got to be offensive line in the second round. There's not as much there, but I do think Patrick Paul here could be a good pick. Just some depth on the offensive line. You invested so much in Russell. Well, not a whole lot in Russell and Justin Fields, but you need to keep your quarterbacks healthy. So I'm gonna go with Patrick Paul. They go offensive line here. This isn't where I'm gonna get Jatavian Sanders off the board. I don't think it's a big, huge need for the Rams, but he's a versatile athletic weapon that could take over the middle of the field. Him, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, they could put a lot of different mismatches, starting in the middle, going outside in or inside out. So we're gonna go Jatavian Sanders. They do have other needs. This is a Sean McVay, like, please, can I have this one? Please, can I have this one? Then they address some of the other picks later, but that one's for fun, basically. Now we have Denver. They actually have a second-round pick now with how this works out. They have a lot of holes across the board. I'm going to give them Chris Braswell. They just get after the passer, the best edge on the board. So they need to hit these quarterbacks in their division. They hope Bo Nix could get them some points. Defensively, they had a pretty good secondary with Patrick Surtain. Don't have Justin Simmons, but they got a lot of building to do. We'll go and give them an edge here. Cleveland now at pick number 54. They do need some linebacker help. The three best players left are linebacker. I think Ricky Pearsall could be a good pick, but I'm going to give them Edgerrin Cooper. It's the best one on the board. It makes too much sense. They're their first pick in the draft, and it lines up perfectly with what they need. Next, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. They've got an offensive tackle. They've gone corner. I think here we can see them look at the quarterback spot. I don't think it's a huge need. I don't think Spencer Rattler's a round 2, maybe a earlier round 3 type of pick. Tier offensive line. I really do like Connor Beebe here. I think that's a fantastic fit. Corners, I'm going to go with Mike Sainstro. I think they're going to double down on corner because Mike Sainstro can play. Although then again, the safety is pretty good. Nope, we're going to stick with it. I'm talking myself into Mike Sainstro, play the nickel. Jack Jones, Enos Rackstraw on the outside, move them around, versatile pieces. The Raiders are going defense and run the ball. I think there is no doubt about that with Antonio Pierce. That is what they're building. And I think they will double down here. That defensive line is menacing. Everything I said for Enos Rackstraw, once again for Mike Sainstro, very versatile nickel type corner. Now we have the Dallas Cowboys here. I want to give them, there's tough. Because I kind of want to give them Connor Beebe and double down on the offensive line and load up on that. But they do have Leighton Vander Esch, the Wolf Hunter, retiring. I do think linebacker could be a bit of a need, so I do think Peyton Wilson here is a very good fit. So we're going to go ahead and go with Peyton Wilson, the linebacker from NC State. Next, we have Tampa Bay yet again. It's their second pick in the second round. They do need corner help. TJ Tampa is a very good value pick here. I think they could have taken him with pick 46 and have been okay, but I think TJ Tampa slipping to them here, they're going to run away with that one. Connor Beebe, offensive line, Green Bay. Gone defense a couple times. Keep loading up on the offensive line. Help Jordan Love out. Not a whole lot needs to be said there. Houston Texans, they want me to take Ricky Pearsall, and I get that, but I think they like a lot of the receivers that they do have. So I'm gonna actually go ahead and give them Junior Colson. I think they're going to add to that linebacker core. You know how much D'Amico Ryans loves the linebackers. They have the edge rush. Brandon Fisk gives them the interior rush. Junior Colson gives them kind of a captain to run the middle along with them as well. They do have good linebackers. I think this is just a bolster because offensively, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, I think they like that group a lot. And I think they can look at some of these receivers, Ricky Pearsall, Malachi Corley, Jalen Polk. I think they trust they'll get one of those in the third round. So we're gonna go Junior Colson here. Buffalo Bills, it should be defense. I really want them to take defense, but they won't. I'm gonna give them Malachi Corley here. You know what? No, I'm going to actually give them Jalen Polk, somebody who can get down the field. Khalil Shakur can play a lot of that Corley role underneath, catching a drag and taking it to the house. Polk, I think, will give them a vertical edge opposite Stephon Diggs if he's still there. I like Malachi Corley a lot. I really think he's going to bring a nice dimension to whoever takes him. I think his skill sets, he has a very good skill set. I think the Bills, they need somebody who can get down the field a little bit more. Detroit, a lot of good weapons here, a lot of good options. I think they're going to stick with defense. We're going to go defensive line. We're going to go Michael Hall Jr. from Ohio State, who had himself a week at the Senior Bowl. He was cooking. I think he could go even earlier than this, just the way the board fell. I think defensive line could start seeing not a run here necessarily, but I think this is where you see a lot of good underrated players like Leonard Taylor, Mason Smith, etc. And starting with Michael Hall here to the lines, excuse me. Baltimore Ravens, another one where I'd love to give him Malachi Corley, but they do need some help, especially in the defensive end, excuse me. Go linebacker. Jeremiah Trotter makes a lot of sense here. They do need some edge help, so Marshall Nealand. We're going to go with Rook. This is where, as I mentioned, we're going to go and give them Rook here. We're going to continue that defensive line starting here a little bit. I think we'll see many runs in different spots throughout. 49ers, I don't know if Brandon Ayuk is going to get traded, so that's why I'm a little hesitant to even look here. So for now, what we're going to do in the meantime is we're going to stick with Max Melton in the corner. They have Ward, they have Fuanga at safety. I think they have so many good players defensively, but they are paying so many of them too. So we'll go Max Melton to just bolster the corner. And now we have the Chiefs here at pick number 64 to round things out. I haven't done a running back so far. I kind of want to give them Jonathan Brooks. It's really tempting, but I don't know if they will. They do like Isaiah Pacheco. They do have options. And it feels weird not having a running back taken at this point. I do think there's a very good chance there's a couple in the second round. I just didn't have any fall in the right spot. Looking at defensive line, I'm going to say that run of defensive lineman, here goes Mason Smith. They did sign Chris Jones to a big deal. You have George Karlaftis. I think they add to it here with Mason Smith, the defensive lineman out of LSU. Just to that defense, they are going to continue to load it up. And Patrick Mahomes offensively will give you a few toys, make it work. Andy Reid will scheme it up. But defensively, they're going to make some noise. And I like Mason Smith to continue to bolster that defense. Kansas City, once again, making a run for that 3P. This is what we got for Mock Draft Monday here. So we got another 2-round edition. Let us know what you think down in the comments below. What moves you liked, what moves you didn't like, and maybe did have too many trades or not enough trades. But we appreciate you all for joining us. We got a few more Mock Draft Mondays before the NFL Draft Special, which you don't want to miss. We will see you all again next week.